Nadia Williams, and I'm a pupil support officer here at Broughton High School. Previous to that, I was self-employed. I had a small chocolate making company, and I was asked to come on board to help launch the community cafe way back in 2018. So yeah, started working with the students on a weekly cafe, making soups and tray bakes, and just learning about how to operate a business so they would be profitable. So for our enterprise, it's quite unique in a way. We have become very adaptive. We've had to since lockdown, because once lockdown came, we weren't able to run the cafe anymore. So we had to kind of reroute our efforts. And throughout lockdown, the food that we would typically work with ended up being distributed to food banks and the like. But since we came back, every year we have a new influx of volunteers. So because Bro Enterprise is student-led, those ideas come from the students, and it takes our projects in slightly different directions. But ultimately the goal is always to use the profits locally, whether it's within the community or whether it's to kind of piggyback, I suppose, a little bit on some of the local charities that have shared goals with ourselves. An example of that would be Fresh Start, which is in Pennywell, which is very close by to us. And the fact that we are quite agile, we can move quite quickly and change ideas quite quickly. We've been able to adapt to what they needed. So for example, for their summer clubs, they needed some snacks and drinks and arts and craft supplies. So our profits went to providing that last summer. And then the profits we made from our Christmas sales, we spent on blankets, which they're able to distribute to people who are used to being homeless but have just moved into their own properties, and it helps them get together all kinds of things to make a home of their new sort of properties. So yeah, that's the kind of thing that we do.
I signed up because I thought it was cool, and I wanted to bake because I love baking. That's why I joined this class, and my friend was here, her sister, and we like teamwork. So yeah.
If I'm being honest, when I decided to sign up for this, I was only thinking, I was only trying to sign up so that I have good qualifications for college applications. And then when I got in here, and also so I can see my friend Zoe. And I guess when I got in here and then I started to do this club, I liked it a lot because it was fun, and I got to bake, which I never get to do at home. And also I got to see my friend and her brother. I made a lot of friends, and it was really exciting program to join, and it was good for my college applications as well. Yeah, college and friends. I didn't even want to make friends at first, but now I do. I have.
Okay, so the initial kind of mission was tackling isolation in the community, and that was met by running a weekly cafe. So we have a retirement home just across the road from us, so the residents there would come over on a regular basis. Some of the senior students who were on childcare subjects worked on storytelling and workshops for parents and toddlers. And we also worked with the Teapot Foundation, who regularly came and had intergenerational table tennis tournaments. So there were lots of things for people to get involved with, to engage, not just with ourselves, but with each other. So that was the first objective, and that has sort of evolved into just looking at what our local community needs and doing as much as we can with what we've got to go towards meeting those needs. That wider achievement is something that's given a lot of focus above and beyond, kind of obviously academic achievement is important, but there's other ways you can add value to who you are as a person and what you can do in your community. So I think because we have such a broad cross-section of students here, we're very multicultural, and there's a lot of awareness, I think, of the needs, particularly in the local community. So I think people are just kind of more open to that, more open to getting involved. And as a member of staff, it's something I would absolutely always encourage them to do, because I think they learn really valuable skills that are easily transferable. and we've been able to add things in like the Saltire Awards, the Duke of Edinburgh Awards. So it is something that kind of fleshes out just the exams, you know, over and above just the exams that they take.
Okay, first things first, do not be like me. Also, listen a lot, because you might think, I mean, although there's instructions, you might think you know how to do something, and also double check your stuff. Like, for example, we tried to make brownies, and we forgot to turn on the oven, so that was just a waste of time. So double check your things, listen, and just don't be like me.
Make sure to build your team working, like talk, not try to do it on your own. Yeah, that's my advice.
I got roped in is probably the easiest way to put it. My daughter was used to go to this school, and she was one of the original group of volunteers that set up Broughton Enterprise, and they had a very clear brief of what they wanted to achieve. And so I was getting fleeced for my cake recipes and profit margins and how to calculate, you know, break-even points, all that sort of stuff. And I said, well, you know, I'm just going to come in and see what you're doing. And so I did, came to visit, and then the person who was kind of overseeing the Broughton Enterprise, previous deputy head, asked me to come on board as a sort of manager for the cafe to sort of get things started. She said, it'll only be for a year until they get going, and that was in 2018. And where are we now? 2025. So yes, it's like most things, it just sort of happened. Things just kind of lined up. And this was a really interesting introduction for me to social enterprise, because I say I've run my own business and I always wanted to turn it into a social enterprise, but I felt like I would have to stop that and then start finding out about social enterprise. It didn't feel like a very fluid move. But now I'm happy to say I've learned a great deal over these past sort of 7 years, and my own business, which has been on a hiatus, I'm going to actually convert to a social enterprise going forward, because I think it's just really helps underpin some really important values for young people, that, you know, profit doesn't have to be a dirty word. We can actually do some really useful things with it. Well, thinking chocolate is something I started. My son, who's just turned 18, I was pregnant with my son. Had been working in a bank as an investment advisor, and as much as I enjoyed working with people, it wasn't something I wanted to do, you know, long term. So I was on a year's maternity leave, and you know, you have so much spare time on your hands with a new baby. I was kind of like, what shall I do? And I thought, well, let me just, I always really enjoyed working with chocolate. I thought, let me just see if I can go on a few courses. And I went to Manchester and worked with a gentleman called John Slattery, who's won several kind of global awards for making chocolate. And I just really, the more I knew about it, the more I wanted to know. So I hired a space in a local bakery that wasn't open on a Sunday. I left some things behind for them as a thank you on the Monday, and they said, yeah, we want to start selling these. And it literally just snowballed into a full-time business. So yeah, I've always it's very, very small scale, stage one artisan chocolate work, but we do kind of workshops. We've done like tastings and pairings with like wine, beer, cheese, whiskey, obviously, because you're in Edinburgh, so you can't avoid it. So really, I've just sort of developed it over time. It's grown quite organically. Again, I've never done a lot in terms of advertising, but have I've developed a very good reputation. And it's been nice to use the skills that I've learned building up my own business, which is a bit like having a baby elephant. You know, you kind of start off okay, and then you have to just continually, just deal with things as they come up. And you know, one person's only so many pairs of hands, so you know, it's kind of fluctuated over the years depending on what my other commitments have been. But it's actually paired with working with Broughton Enterprise really nicely, and I was inspired by the awards scheme, and they have facilitators that run their own social enterprises that go out to schools to encourage kids to do the same thing, to set up their own. So I think, to me, the natural next step is to get it embedded into the curriculum, because it's such an important skill set. We have done. We've wholesaled to you guys. We've catered a couple of your meetings. We worked with a charity called Upmo, and they have a number of cafes now throughout the Edinburgh Leisure. But we've wholesaled brownies to them in the past, and we've catered for a couple of luncheons that they've done. And we've also worked with Scran Academy. They have a Christmas hamper that they do every year. They sell a certain amount and then that allows them to give a certain amount away. But they buy from us. We did hot chocolate dippers one year, and then last year we sold fudge, 200 bags of fudge. So we don't seek them out. Again, not enough hours in the day, but yeah, we absolutely have done some wholesaling in the past, and that would probably be something we'd like to do more of.
I like everything. Yeah, baking, making soaps, teamwork. That's like
Bacon. Also, I actually kind of like soap making a lot, and the sugar scrub's really good.
I think when we consider local community, so we're looking towards like people at the retirement home to give them a kind of wider sort of social experience. So parents with very young children who don't always, yes, there are other provisions like parent and toddler groups and things, but they don't always have an opportunity to kind of spread their wings and have their kids kind of do stuff. So the garden parties that we would typically run in the summertime was an opportunity for them to come and just, the kids are in a nice environment, they can just have a drink and just kind of meet people. And I think the cross-generational thing was quite important as well, because I think as people do spend more time living alone, maybe their families aren't close by or they don't have family, to actually meet people of all ages is really important to keep in, I think, your grey matter ticking over, just keeping you feeling like you're part of something. Beyond that, we've kind of looked at things like food security, hygiene security, and so using our profits to buy specifically, depending on what the charities have asked us for. So sometimes it's food, sometimes we work with the Cyrenians, but we don't always use our allocation, but we redistribute it. One time we were asked for baby requisites, so that's what we put all our efforts into, and then we take advantage of local supermarkets, either applying for their community grants that they offer, or sometimes if you explain what you're doing, they will match you. So if we've managed to make a £200 profit, we can turn that into £400, and we use that to buy baby requisites on that occasion. And then, I say, last Christmas we did blankets because that's what was asked for. So we don't actually just pass money on to the charities. We tend to buy something, and then at sort of Christmas time, Easter time, Eid, things like that, we will make products and then just donate them. So whilst there might be putting packages together for families that have food security, you're thinking about kind of basic things like, kind of pastas and soups and things. We're able to put those little kind of luxury things in and the treats that really wouldn't be part of your budget otherwise. And it doesn't cost the members of those local charities anything to have those. Fresh Start, for example, operate a voucher system for different products. So anything we supply for them, the members don't have to use any of their vouchers, so everybody can benefit from it. So I think that's the idea, is wherever there's a need. And then I think we have worked successfully with Fresh Start because they've had some really good connections with them. The students have been down to tour the warehouse and the community cafe and the shop and see how it works, because it's a really great project. And I think the most important, or the biggest impression it made on me, is it treats everybody in a very dignified way. The cafe's completely free, and they have a token system or a voucher system for the shop. So you can actually go in and feel like you're just buying something. So yeah, those are the kind of things that we have been focusing on. But next year, with new students again, that's something we'll review and see if there's anything new we should be focusing on. Yeah, the brownies are our kind of hero product. So we do brownies, we do tray bakes, we do cupcakes. Those have proved very popular at the music concerts that we have at school. So we would typically cater for those events. Parents come, listen to everyone playing all their wonderful music, and then it's an absolute bun fight for 15 minutes when 100 people come out and we need to get them a hot drink in the winter or a cold drink in the summer and some sort of tray bake. So we make different varieties of cupcakes and brownies and tray bakes for that. Because of my kind of background, we also do a lot of work with chocolate. It's really therapeutic to work with chocolate because there's a lot of repetition and a lot of just focusing on quite sort of small tasks in a certain order. So it keeps the chaos to a minimum, shall we say. And it's a very good, it's been a very good instrument on working with students that perhaps find accessing education quite challenging. And I've done a little bit of work like one-to-one with students like that. And chocolate's a great leveller. There's very few people that don't like chocolate in some form or other. So we've been doing sort of colour theory and dyeing chocolates and making like colourful eggshells and things. So we do a range of handmade chocolates and confectionery as well, things like coconut ice and fudge, which we will put together a kind of Christmas package. And always a sort of bundle. There'll be some sort of bargain that if you buy one of each box, you get a better price for it. So those typically we sell to kind of students, parents, and through staff, and wherever we can reach a wider market. So the parents' evenings or the music concert evenings are quite key for us to sell items like that. This last year we've moved into making soaps. We've been looking really closely at what we can do before we think about recycling. So we've been looking at the reduction of water, reduction of plastics, reduction of fuel. We've been looking at repurposing as much as we can, and with recycling as an absolute last resort. So we've done a complete rebrand and a review of all our packaging. So we only use recyclable packaging, but that's just the start. The soaps sort of lent themselves as a really nice product that we could make and store. And it's a longer life. Our baking kind of has to be sold that day, but soaps, kind of the longer you keep them, the better they get. So we took some inspiration from the garden and some of the things like the lavender and the mint that are growing there, and then we got in touch with some local coffee companies and ended up at the Royal Botanics, who give us their coffee grounds from the cafe, and we sanitize those, and then we use them in what we call our kitchen sink bar, which is a really lovely bar of soap with coffee grounds and citrus oils, and it's great for getting scents like garlic and onion off your hands and slightly exfoliating as well, so if your hands are kind of slightly greasy. So we've extended that. We do 4 different types of soaps and a shampoo bar as well. So we're reducing the water that's needed, we're reducing the plastic in the packaging, and we also have started making a sugar scrub with peppermint oils and grapeseed oil and just straight sugar. So it's just 3 ingredients, very simple. And we have done a little bit of market research with that amongst our office staff, and varying degrees of success, but we think we've got the formula down now. So that's something that we'll be previewing at our next market. And our next project, which is sort of still in hand, some of these things are kind of a rolling process. We're doing some work with Glasgow School of Art and digital fabric printing, because we want to make beeswax wraps to try and eliminate cling film. So we have lots of weird and wonderful ideas. It just takes us a while to get to them, but we do. We get there in the end.
I feel like a lot of business owners are very selfish and they only care about profits. A lot of the time they don't even care about their own workers, they just care about profits. And considering the fact that there's a lot of climate change now, I feel like you should try the best you can to try to make it very good for the planet. Like use recyclable stuff and recycle and reuse stuff. I don't waste things. It's not very sustainable. Try to do sustainable things. And don't be selfish.
I know that some people use too much plastic, and that is so bad for our like forests and stuff, because they throw it to forests, some woods and stuff, and that is really bad. And like there's climate change, the ice are melting.
think perhaps more than they realise. Hopefully they have fun when they come, because that's part of it. It's not, it's a kind of you don't want it to be this kind of lofty mission that's a real dirge, and you've got to endure it. We want people to enjoy it, otherwise they won't stick around. We have students that are with us from S1 and they're still with us at S6. So I think that's absolutely needs to be enjoyable for them to stick with it. I think they learn about teamwork. I think they learn about considering others, which is not to say they don't do that before they come in the door, but it's kind of compounded, those skills. And I think it helps them look outwards. I think it helps them look beyond themselves into what they can do for other people. A lot of skills like cookery, food handling, customer service. So really, really good life skills and really, really good transferable skills for early, work experience or employment later on. And then with these kind of new ideas now, there's always something to kind of sort of build into it. There's no agenda to crowbar, no, we are trying to teach this skill today. It's a very organic process, and it is very much led by the students, who do need a little bit of corralling once in a while, which I think we just beautifully demonstrated earlier. But generally speaking, we just work on those ideas, and every single year you get a new influx. And I think that the fact that we have kind of a lot of first and second years, it's nice that we can kind of capture people earlier into their kind of career at school to build these ideas on, because they do everything in their own time. They come after school. Today's an exception, and they'll come to events at the weekends, so they're happy to give up their time to do it, and they get very excited when we work out how much profit we've made, and then we decide how we're going to spend it, and get a few pictures of the donations and such. And we even get some volunteers that have left, but they come back for events because they still like to stay involved. So we have 2 students that are still volunteering. They're at college, but they're still volunteering, and just come and get involved on an ad hoc basis. I have an ex-student who's now runs her own business making cakes. She was a fantastic baker before she came, but I think once she worked out, I always talk about the break-even point. That's it's like a big thing. Should have it on a tablet of stone or something. Once she worked out, because she was not charging anywhere near enough money. She was making cakes for lots of friends and family. She was at that sort of stage. But I said, yeah, but if it's a business, then yes, you want to do something nice for your friends and family. But if you are selling something, you need to make a profit. So once we kind of worked that part out, and she now has her own business making cakes, and a few of our students kind of sailed straight into summer jobs and work experience jobs because they already had their food handling certificates, very confident working in the kitchen, very confident knife skills, things of that nature. Had one lad who was really struggling to engage with school, and he started coming along to these sessions and quite enjoyed them. And then he said, what I really want to do is I want to work for an airline. And I said, great. I said, well, if you keep coming to these sessions, and then, you need to get these other qualifications as well. But if you keep coming to these sessions, I'll specifically make sure that you learn all the kind of customer service that I can possibly tell you. I've spent more years in retail than I care to recall. I said, but I've probably forgotten more than you need to learn. But, we'll cover it off. And he did. His attendance absolutely started improving. And then he left and he did a year at college. And now he is working with EasyJet. And he's training to be cabin staff. And I would like to think that at least something that he did here helped contribute to him building his confidence to be able to do that. So yeah, I kind of bumped into him in Sainsbury's, and it was like, Miss, like no one ever calls me Miss, but of course I turned, and he was so proud to tell me, and rightly so, because he obviously worked quite hard to get there in the end. But yeah, I think it helped him develop the skills to do that. I think what's key in any of this is once somebody realises they can do something, it just opens doors. That it doesn't mean, oh, I can only do this. I can actually do this, or I could try something else. I think once you just open that initial door of like, look what you did. Look, I had a bunch of students that were really struggling with pretty much all their other lessons, and all they were interested in was making was Chinese food and burgers. And it's like, great, let's do that. And they were like, what? And I said, let's do that. I said, like, right, what do you normally order? So, of course, they're very quick to tell me their Wingstop order or their... And one of them said, oh, I have that in Hong Kong. And I said, oh, have you been to Hong Kong? And he went, oh, no, it's a takeaway down such and such road. And I was like, okay. But we deconstructed, like, salt and pepper chicken. We deconstructed stir fries. We deconstructed inside-out cheeseburgers. And then they made them. And they were like, wow, this is better than what I've bought. And one lad's gone into the army catering as well from that. He was one of that group. So yeah, I think it's those kind of things that it's just giving them that light bulb moment. I try and say yes as often as I possibly can. I just and just see where it goes. So far, so good. It's kind of a unique position when you're inside a school because there's lots of protocols and lots of procedures, and I think if I had more time in the role, I think I would absolutely be pursuing like more funding and look at how to advertise what we're doing more widely. With the lowest possible budget, but I think the kids are doing such great work. It would be good to. I mean, we do. Things go out on the school website and stuff like that, and it gets celebrated. But I think it'd be really good for us to have a little bit more recognition, and that might open up more opportunities for us. It would be nice to have a sort of like a regular wholesale contract as opposed to as and when. Things like that. So it's being able to take that next sort of step, because I feel the foundation is very, very solid and can withstand new people coming in, which then have to be trained. Because that's the other beauty of it, is the existing volunteers then train the new volunteers, so they're already learning how to, communication skills, leadership skills. So yeah, I think that would be more money. Although we're very kind of astute with what we have. We tend to had a seed of £5,000 in 2017, and generally any money we spend on materials goes back into that, and we only obviously distribute the profit. So we've yet to exhaust that. We've kind of just kept it kind of topped up. But it would be nice to. We don't have to spend a lot of money, but it would be nice to have maybe some slightly different equipment. Would be good. And really just the means to put ourselves out there a little bit more. Sometimes things like markets and things, they come with a pitch, and then you have to weigh up the cost of the pitch, the cost of transportation, and if we can't make a profit, we can't go. That's why the melting pot was really good for us, because we could see that it could be profitable. So yeah, those kind of things, and I guess probably just finding out what else there is to know. Because if you know already, then if you know what questions to ask, you probably already know the answer. So it's yeah, I think it would be nice. I would personally, I would really like us to communicate with or twin with an international school, maybe and just find out how they're doing things and see how we can communicate with each other and where that could go. Steve has always been very approachable. I think that's the most important thing. You sort of think, CEO is someone that's kind of like, miles away, but he's always been really approachable, really friendly, very generous with his time, and just knowing that I could contact him about any kind of questions, social enterprise related, is really useful. I think you have a really good series of events and workshops, and there's lots of opportunities to find out what you're doing, getting set up in the first place, but also to take next steps and to develop depending on whatever stage your social enterprise is at. So I think it's a really valuable resource, which I have not tapped enough, but I will plan to remedy that going forward. As I say, it's not exactly like Etch-a-Sketch that we have a kind of a brand new set of ideas and thoughts every year, but I think we try and embed that from the beginning. I think a couple of years the Bro Enterprise was advertised as a baking club, and we had like about 30 kids turn up, and I'm like, wow, this is brilliant. But they all thought it was like, well, you get to make some muffins and you take them home at the end of the session. And it's just like, no, it's not HFT. Like, this is why we're doing this. And very quickly, it sort of separated the wheat from the chaff, and these are the guys that stayed. So yes, I think awareness is increasing. I think certainly from seeing customers that it's becoming more important to them, that we are thinking about these kind of things, that we're not trying to create waste, we're not just trying to make money, that we actually put a lot of effort and thought into the products that we make. We don't just want to say, oh well, we'll just buy it because it's for school. We want you to say this is a really great product. You know, particularly with our baking, and more recently with our kind of soaps and things that we're moving into. I'm very delighted to hear that your friend enjoyed the bar of soap that you gave them, because we don't want to make something you think, oh well, I've bought it just because it's for a school, like you're doing us a favour. We actually want to make decent products.
So, I mean, I haven't joined a lot of social enterprises, but I guess a lot of the things I learned from my dad, and I know that it's just a place for you to make connections and meet a lot of people, advertise yourself, also try other new things that you may not have the opportunity to have tried before. So just try new things, meet people, make connections, and maybe friends. But social enterprises are not about friends. It's about business.
Well, I came up to Edinburgh for a weekend, and I've now been living here for 20 years. So I had an opportunity to move. I was at banking, and when I took the job on, it's like, are you prepared to move anywhere? And I didn't really think about it, just ticked the box to say, yep, anywhere. And they said, okay, so we've got opportunities up in Scotland. And I was like, brilliant, I love Glasgow. And they went, well, actually, this is Edinburgh. And I said, I've never been to Edinburgh before, so you're going to need to, I need to go up there and have a little look around. And I just fell in love with it, because I lived in London for a very long time. I lived in London for about 36 years, and then I moved to Devon when I had my daughter, but it was just too quiet for me. It was just no sirens, no grime. You know, everyone was nice to everybody. It was just like, this is not for me. I need to be back in a city. And Edinburgh for me, I've found is just a perfect size. There's absolutely everything going on that you need going on. You can get to the beach, you can get to the hills, you know, there's just everything's really close by. We're close to the airport. So all this, it's like mini London for me. So yeah, so I moved up, I took the job, and I had planned to move back down to England, but yeah, I've just not really felt the need to do that yet. So I just really like it. If you don't like the weather in Edinburgh, just wait a minute. If you want to change your scene in Edinburgh, just get on a bus. In 10 minutes, you'll be somewhere completely different. It took me a long time to meet someone from Edinburgh. I will say that, because it just seems to, again, draw people in from all over. So that's something else I liked about it as well, because where I moved to in Devon, it was very much the opposite of that. Next 12 months, I'm excited to, I think, see where we can go with Glasgow School of Art, 'cause that's like I love a new project. It's always great working on what we're already doing, and there is some comfort to be had from becoming quite astute at that and accomplished. But I love a new, you know, I'm all about novelty. I love a new idea. I'm looking forward to new volunteers starting in August. No idea what they're going to be like yet. Could be taking us to hell in a handbasket, or it could be a wonderfully symbiotic, you know, association. We'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, I think the new projects, and it would be really nice if we could do some more things with like the melting pot, those kind of events, because that, I think, gives the volunteers an opportunity to really see the kind of end result of their efforts in the way that they don't always, if it's like a wholesale order, or we end up delivering something to like the charity, when they actually get to meet the public, and the public show an interest and asking them how they make stuff. And so yeah, I think more events, see where this new project goes, and new volunteers. There's lots to get into. Well, our tagline is "Together, good things happen," and I think that kind of really sums it up. As you can see, we have quite a few characters in our group, but there's room for everybody. Everyone has their place, and when we work together, we usually have a good outcome. So I think that probably sums it up.